Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest. But first, as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. So don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 3 minutes. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director, and you should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends, Gipper. Gipper is the official social media graphics solution for the podcast. And if you go to their website, their team is going to show you how to create world-class content to help promote your athletes and celebrate your teams. Gipper is used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs across the country. It's professional graphic design made simple. Go to Gipper.com to get started today. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Their products not only generate income for your athletic department, they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Hometown Ticketing is digital ticketing that offers more. Go to hometownticketing.com. Whether it's more support, more security, more customization, Hometown is here to help you make the best online ticketing solution. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive Indoor and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Tell them you heard about it on the podcast. They'll give you a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. It's the official social media and high school state association platform for us. How about scheduling? How about athletic clearance and student athlete eligibility? Who doesn't do that every day? Contacting coaches, parents, student athletes, your state association, uploading digital forms. If you're an athletic director, Home Campus is going to help you do your job better and faster. And all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. We also want to thank SnapRaise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then gotten little, if any, return on your investment? Stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online platform out there. SnapRaise is a program that we used at our school. Tremendous success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. It works. Go to their website, snapraise.com. Check out their other platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. But when I became an athletic director, I trusted Huddle to do a great job for our other teams, and they came through like a champ. Go to huddle.com. They're all new experiences for streaming, video highlights, video recording, and more is just waiting for you. At Huddle, we believe in sports. Teams believe in Huddle. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents, your coaches, or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you. They're going to connect you to the folks you already hear from, the complainers, the gripers, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. That's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to Massachusetts today, and we're going to be visiting with a new friend to the show, Stephen Marks. Stephen's a longtime athletic director. Now he's into health and wellness, and he's also the co-founder of a really neat organization. We're going to hear about all of that later, but Stephen Marks, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you came highly recommended from a previous guest. We get a lot of our guests by referral, and just looking at your background, I'm thinking that this is going to be a really cool interview. Well, let's go and get started. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take our first break. But what's the Stephen Marks origin story?
All right. Well, thanks again. Then, whoever recommended me, I appreciate that as well. So, anyway, so I was born and raised in Bethesda, Maryland, about 10 minutes right outside of Washington, D.C. Nice suburb right there. Grew up, have an older brother, 3 years older than me, two parents, had a very nice upbringing in Maryland. Um, Sports were always at the center of everything that I did, my life. I played anything that I could run and have a ball with, I was doing my entire life. I kind of latched on to soccer early on in my life, and was playing that pretty competitively up until about age 13 when I actually burnt out of soccer and I picked up a basketball and went with that. When I was in high school, I played basketball. I actually ended up kicking and punting on the football team. I put my soccer skills to use for one season, and I say it was probably the most fun I ever had playing on a team was doing that football for a year. Um, but yeah, so grew up in Maryland. Then I started off college. Actually, I went to Rollins College, which is down in Winter Park, Florida.
Oh yeah.
I was there. Amazing college. Would recommend it to anybody. But I would hope that they're ready to go to college because, to be honest, when I went down there, I wasn't ready to be at college yet. I spent one semester down there, had a lot of fun, and then ended up coming back home and getting myself ready to be a student, so to speak. So I spent some time at home. Then I went to Ithaca College. Had a great experience at Ithaca. Thought I was going to play basketball there, and was hit with the that stick that everyone gets hit with at some point when you just realize that there are just people out there that are just better than you. So I didn't end up playing college basketball, but had a great experience at Ithaca. Majored in sports studies, which was kind of a combination between sports management and recreation and physical education, kind of combined all of those three things together. Had a great time again at Ithaca, and then started my professional career. My first job out of school was working at a Jewish community center running recreation programs. I spent about a year and a half doing that before I decided that I wanted to become a teacher. My passion for teaching and coaching kind of came from the fact that every summer my parents would send me and my brother away to sleepaway camp up in Maine. We spent two months there every summer, all boys camp, just playing sports. And then I became a counselor and started coaching there. So got my first job as a PE teacher at a private school down in Maryland.
Yeah. I want you to go into your career path because we get a lot of younger ADs and coaches that listen. I think it's important for them to hear about the journey, but I want to go back to your school days. What was that like, say, junior high and high school? Was it a big, say, a big public school? Was it a smaller rural school? What was that environment like for you growing up?
Good question. So Bethesda, Maryland, again, is a pretty big suburb right outside of Washington D.C. So I graduated with about 500 kids in my class. So pretty decent sized high school. And same thing for the middle school. It was about 500 kids per grade there. So nice
And
size.
you're describing your experience about coming out and putting your kicking skills to use. One of my best friends from high school, he was a baseball player, but he came out for football one year and was our punter. We already had a kicker, and he said the same thing. Some of his best memories were from those days on the football team. What's something I'm putting you on the spot here. What's something that sticks out for you from those football days? Any stories to share?
Oh man, I got so many just from that one year. And ironically, um, my basketball coach was also the football coach. So it was a nice, easy transition there. And I would go, and I'd say my favorite memories were on days where they were doing either an offensive or defensive day, and no special teams or anything. I would go and kick for maybe 5 minutes down at the field, and then he'd open up the gym for me to go in and get some jump shots in and work on my basketball to get ready. And then I'd come back out for the end of practice, and he even asked me sometimes to try and talk a little bit of trash to some of my some of my teammates to get them competing a little bit. So we had a good time. We had a real good time there.
That's so strange. Well, not strange. It's cool to hear. I remember my entire high school career, we'd finish football practice, or even in spring, we'd finish track practice, and we wouldn't go home. We'd go in the gym and we'd shoot baskets. Who needed AAU or travel basketball? We were getting basketball year round, all year long. They had the open gym on Sunday nights. I mean, those are very special days, and I think very formative days too for athletes, because you're competing against some of the best kids in the school at that point.
Yeah, certainly. And I say this to, everyone as we'll get into obviously my time as an AD later, but like, to me, high school sports is the last time when it's really that pure just about sports. You're playing with the kids that you grew up with and playing against the kids in the neighboring towns. There's something really special about high school sports and that whole process leading up to it that's still pure and still obviously very close to my heart. So
All right, I got to ask you about Rollins College, because that's about 45 minutes away from where I live right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
And I think I probably got this wrong. Isn't that where Mr. Rogers graduated from college?
you got
What
that
was that
correct.
like?
Yep.
Kid coming from Maryland all the way down to Orlando. I know you ended up not staying there, which is fine. I bounced around
Yeah.
myself colleges, but
Yeah.
what's something that sticks out for you from that Rollins experience?
Oh man. Well, first of all, not many kids from Maryland even know that Rollins existed. But like I said, I went to summer camp every year, and one of my counselors went to Rollins and played soccer there. So that's how I kind of found out about the school. And what stood out to me, honestly, was about the month that I spent with the basketball team there. So I went on, went there as a walk on and tried out for the team and didn't make the team, but practiced with them. The coach there, who's still the coach to this day, Tom Klusman, was just such a great guy to me. He may not even remember me at this point in his career, but to me, the way that he treated me and the way that he helped me through that whole walk-on process, and when I went into his office to tell him, that I was leaving school, I'll never forget this. He, thanked me for my time and, said he was disappointed I was leaving because he thought I could, help the program and moving forward at some point. And he picked up the phone and he made a phone call with me sitting right there to a buddy of his that was coaching a Division III school. They talked for about 5 minutes. He said he's got a kid at his school that's leaving. Hung up the phone. He said, if you go to this school, you've got a spot on the team right there. So I thought that was an awesome, awesome thing. Talking about leadership and something that really stuck with me, you know, to this day. So,
Oh, absolutely. And
yeah.
you said one of my magic words. You said walk on. I don't know if you're familiar with the book. I'm holding it up right now for our listeners. Teammates Matter. Have you ever heard of that book?
I have not. No. No.
Okay. The author is Alan Williams. Teammates Matter. I don't get a kickback for this, but one of the coolest walk-on stories that I've ever heard. He was a walk-on basketball player at Wake Forest, was there all 4 years, and he just when he was graduating his senior year, a reporter came up to him in the locker room, and he hardly ever played at all over the 4 years. But a reporter said, why'd you do it? Was it worth it? And he just, started thinking about it, and he wrote this book. And it's a great book. We got it for all of our kids, our coaches. We actually flew Alan Williams into my school and had him speak to our parents, our student athletes. So there's your book recommendation for this episode, Teammates
That's
Matter
appreciate
by Alan
it.
Williams. All right. That's enough about him. We're visiting today with Stephen Marks, longtime AD Now he's the K through 12 wellness director at his school. We're going to hear about that. And he's also the co-founder of a really cool organization. We're going to hear about all of that and more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. Oh, for goodness sakes. We're having some technical difficulties here. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper for their support of the podcast. Gipper's the official social media graphics solution for us. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to show you how you can create world-class content for your school social media channel to help promote your athletes and celebrate your teams. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 athletic programs, college and high school across the country. It's professional graphic design made easy. How easy is it? Well, it's so easy, even I can use it. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online, not just for athletic events, but for things like school plays and concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school gets assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more.
Hey, Jake, I'm sitting here and looking behind you, and I see your sponsor things there, and I see Gipper up there. I just want to give them a shout out. As an athletic director, I use them, and let me tell you what, like, it's almost like a full-time job having to do social media, and using Gipper made everything so much easier for me. I was on it nonstop. You know, had everything pre-made on my computer, could be out at the fields in the gym, put the scores in, get the graphics out there, and it was just such an awesome product. So I'm glad to see. I assume you use them down there, so I'm glad to see them up on your board there.
Well, that's so nice of you to say, and you're absolutely right. It's a tremendous platform, but you brought up a great point. Um, they have a mobile app, and you can be watching the game. You can do quarter by quarter updates and the graphics. You can take a picture of a kid, shooting or dribbling or whatever they're doing, and add that to the post. And as I say in the commercial, it's so easy. Even an old retired AD like me can use it. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, let's go and jump right back in. For listeners, Stephen Marks is our guest. He's a longtime athletic director. Stephen, you kind of took us up through your college career and actually gave us a little bit of a peek into your post-college career, but take us on that journey again. How did you, what were the different stops that you made along the way to your current position?
Sure. So right out of college, my first job, I worked at a Jewish community center running recreation programs for a year and a half. And like I'd said before, then I got into teaching and coaching. I had actually, while I was working at the Jewish Community Center, I was helping my high school's basketball team. So I was an assistant coach there doing that. So that was a lot of fun. Anyway, then I got into teaching and coaching. I was teaching PE. My first stop was at the McLean School of Maryland, which is a private school down in Maryland. I spent 5 years there. My first 2 years were just as a PE teacher. Then I became the assistant athletic director. And that's where I got my first taste of sort of the administrative side of things and figured that, for some reason, my brain was wired to enjoy that stuff and got me to, think about what was next. And after that, I enrolled at Ohio University, their master's in athletic administration program, and I was doing it online. So I had stepped down from my teaching job and actually was not sure what I was going to do. I thought I'd be in school full time and just maybe do some basketball coaching, but actually took a trip to Boston to visit some friends and had put my name in a kind of a placement agency, for teachers and took an interview at a school called Shady Hill, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I took the interview just because I was going there to visit some friends, and the school was fantastic and they offered me an opportunity to go there and become an athletic director. And next thing I knew, I was packing my bags and moved up and spent 10 years at Shady Hill being an athletic director there at a private school. And I can't say enough good things about the people and the school there and all the work that we were able to do. We built a new gym, put in a turf field, did a lot of work there. But Shady Hill only went through eighth grade. So I was at that point after, 6, 7 years, those last couple years at Shady Hill, I was, I wanted to be working in a high school. I wanted to have the bright, Friday night lights and do the big thing. And I live in a town called Ashland, which is a small town in Massachusetts. And about 2 years before I made a move, the athletic director job opened up there, and I did not apply. I just, for whatever reason, didn't. A lot of people in town wanted me to, and I didn't go for it at that time. But then it came open again, and it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. Put my name in, and was fortunate enough to get hired there, and became the athletic director of my hometown for 5 years, and was the best experience that I've had professionally. I was able to take everything that I had learned at all my different stops, from working in the recreation field to being a PE teacher to coaching basketball, to being an assistant athletic director, and my 10 years as an athletic director at the private middle school, and went into the big public school world and had just a fantastic experience there, for 5 years. And I miss it tremendously. And I stepped away from my job. I told Ashland, probably around New Year's last year, that I needed to make a change. And a lot of people told me I was crazy for telling them before I had something lined up, but they were so good to me. I didn't want to leave them hanging or anything. I had to make a change for family. I've got two sons. I've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. And as you know, being an athletic director, being out all those hours and whatnot, my wife was basically raising the kids by herself. And I, at some point, had to make a decision of, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to spend my time. So I chose my family, and I was looking for what was next, and this opportunity at Medfield, which was actually in the same league, same conference as Ashland. So I knew some people over here. This opportunity kind of presented itself as director of wellness, so overseeing the PE and health over the district, and I took that job, and I'm here and happy. And also, we'll talk about my nonprofit that I started later, but also doing that, and in the midst of to keep my coaching and being involved in sports, I'm volunteer assistant coaching for the girls varsity basketball team here, and we're playing in the state championship either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We'll find out who we play tonight, and we'll be playing for a championship. So that's exciting.
Oh, that's tremendous. I'm glad you can keep your hand in it. Well,
Yeah.
let's go back on that journey a little bit. Um, Making that transition from teacher and coach, to athletic director, we call it going to the other side of the desk. Then a couple of years later, you made that jump to the high school level. There's an expression I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure you might use it. You don't know what you don't know. When you became an athletic director, certainly you weren't, a raw, rookie with no idea of athletics, but what were one or two things that kind of surprised you? Oh gosh, I have to do this. And at the same time, what were some things that you felt that you were really well prepared to do?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think one thing that stood out to me the most of that I wouldn't say not prepared to do, but that I was surprised that took up so much of my time was facility management. At both of my schools, at Shady Hill, we put in a turf field and we built a new gym. So the amount of time I spent, basically being a project manager, on top of being an athletic director, it was great. It was a lot of fun, but I was surprised at how much time that took up. And then at my stop in Ashland, just all managing all the different fields and all the different rentals and all the stuff going on there. It took up way more time than I thought that it would. Those are the two things that facilities really stand out to me in terms of taking up my time. In terms of things that I was prepared for and sort of enjoyed, I guess, the relationships and working with the coaches and the parents and the student athletes. That's what the business is really all about, right? When it boils down to, and where I feel I was able to make great connections with people and hopefully help some coaches along the way and help some student athletes along the way.
You mentioned right there helping coaches. I think one of the things that athletic directors like to do, but don't always get the opportunity or the time to do, is help coaches, providing professional development. What were some of the things that you were able to do for your coaches in that area?
And well, first of all, you're right, and I think as ads, our time just gets spread, you're just thrown all over the place, and at the end of the day, we're there to support those coaches, and we need to make sure that we do that. And I think what I was able to do more than anything was, I like to say when I got hired at Ashland, and this is, my predecessors there were fantastic and helped me get my feet underneath me there. But I always say it was kind of like an octopus, where like each program was kind of operating on their own arm, doing their own thing, and I was able to work with the coaches to kind of put some policies and procedures in place, even so much as end of season meetings and evaluations of the program and of them, and offering that feedback, and able to get the program, different teams operating the same way. That's something I'm really proud of. And just those, I say all the time, I'm sure most ADs say that they think they have the best coaching staff. I loved my coaches. They were great. And even the ones where, sometimes the door gets shut and you butt heads and you go at it and whatnot. But as long as everybody's after, the same thing in terms of helping those kids, those relationships are ones that last a lifetime, and what I miss most about not being an athletic director now.
Oh, absolutely. I get asked that question all the time. What do you miss? I go, well, I miss the kids, miss the coaches, miss game nights. Don't miss turning off the lights in the gym at 11:30 at night on a Thursday, or as talking to Mr. or Mrs. Jones about their kids' lack of playing time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's those relationships. Great stuff.
Yeah.
For listeners, one more time, we're visiting today with Stephen Marks, longtime athletic director, and we're going to hear about what he's doing, what he's currently doing in our next segment. So let's take that next break, but please come back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Of course, we use it for home games, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their product's tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to show off your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to share your school's unique story, highlight your best student athletes, and share your school's diverse history. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd also like to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is the official high school and state association management platform for us. It's also a site that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance. Who doesn't do that every day? Communication with coaches, with parents, with your state association, uploading rosters, digital forms and signatures, you name it. Home Campus does it, and they do it better. Go to homecampus.com to get started. Mention the podcast, they'll give you a nice discount. That's homecampus.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Stephen, you shared with our listeners just before we took the break that after many years as an athletic director, you made the decision to, step away, but you're still involved in the game. You mentioned your coaching, but what are you doing now with the Medfield Public School system?
So yeah, I am the wellness director here, K through 12. So I oversee our physical education and health department. We've got 5 schools here in our district. So I bounce back and forth between all 5. I do some teaching here at the middle school. I've got an office in the high school, and then I make my rounds and I support the teachers and the students. And we've got some exciting stuff going on here in Massachusetts when we've got new state frameworks for PE and health for the first time since 1999. So those just came out. So we're doing a lot of work on those.
I was very fortunate during my career. I was the wellness director at 3 different colleges while I was teaching and coaching there. And a lot of my time was spent with, the faculty and the staff and with the community. Um, are your initiatives with the school district primarily student centered, or do you get to do anything with the adults in the community?
So far, it's just been with students as you know, it's my first year and just kind of getting my feet underneath me. But right now it's mostly been, or really just been with students.
Okay. Well, since it is new, I'll put you on the spot. What are some things that initiatives that you've seen that you want to keep promoting? And is there anything that you're looking at saying, hey, we're going to try something new? Anything that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, what I want to keep is, and I say this all the time, wellness has never been more important than it is right now, physically and mentally, in terms of, where our students are and adults. And, I'm a big advocate for, having more time in wellness, whether it's PE class or health class. And, coming out of COVID and just the society and the world that we live in right now, it's never been more important, the work that the teachers in my department are doing right now. So that I certainly want to keep. I'm fortunate again, just like I was as an athletic director, to work with great coaches. The teachers here in this district are absolutely fantastic, and honestly, I'm learning way more from them than they are from me. So that's what I want to keep the same. In terms of changing something or anything, like I said, we've got these new frameworks that are coming out. So there's some curriculum changes that I'm looking forward to working with my staff on in the next probably 2 years.
Okay. I know I'm putting you on the spot with all this, but you mentioned that
No worries.
there haven't been any changes for a number of years.
Yep.
I think that's fairly typical from
Yep.
state to state in my experience. Um, is there anything have you, and I know you just recently started the position, but have you had a chance to look at, say, the new material versus the old material, and you're going, wow, this is something that is really needed an update, or this is something that boy, I can't believe we're still teaching this. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but anything that really caught your eye?
Yeah, no worries. And I won't throw anyone under the bus either. They're all my colleagues. But no, I think the main difference that I see from the frameworks that are, now 25 years apart is the amount of social and emotional learning that is, you know, intertwined into the wellness curriculum and phys ed, as opposed to 25 years ago when you're really just looking at what skills, what skills were you learning in PE class, and what were you learning in health or sex ed. So I think the social emotional piece, I think that's been the biggest change that I see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of things are just popping in my mind. You mentioned sex ed, that um that's that the application of material in that area is probably much wider now, I guess, depending on your school district. But then I was just thinking 25 years ago, did vaping even exist? They probably didn't have a section on that in substances and things. So that's got to be exciting to be there at the beginning when you're rolling out that new stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in a way makes this transition a little bit smoother for me, right? And, coming from athletic director where you're, you know, that's what you do all the time, right? You're adapting and putting in new things and, adjusting to on the fly and, it's been a nice little transition into that.
Yeah, no question that your experience as an AD is going to come in handy. Um, One of our Florida athletic directors, when COVID hit, he was quoted as saying something like, I cannot think of another profession that is better equipped to handle everything that is coming our way than athletic directors as they respond to COVID. You probably remember that.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, certainly.
Well, Stephen, I'm excited to transition into our next topic. Not that our previous ones haven't been great. Appreciate you sharing. Um, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Stephen's going to talk about a foundation that he's the co-founder of, and hopefully going to share some information about how we as listeners can get involved and help support it. So let's take a break, but we are coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at SnapRaise for their support of the podcast. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and ended up with little, if any, return? Well, stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school, tremendous success. Our coaches loved it, our parents loved it, our finance office loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Snapraise.com. Go to snapraise.com. See all the great things that they can do to help you support your program. Snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I trusted Huddle to provide the same type of service to our other coaches, and they just loved the tools that Huddle provided that let them coach our kids to the next level. And our fans loved it with Huddle streaming too. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. Welcome back, everybody. We're visiting today with Stephen Marks, a longtime athletic director. He's made the switch to wellness director, K through 12 wellness director for the Medfield Public School system in Massachusetts. He's also the co-founder of, well, I'm going to let him share, but when you hear about it, you're going to be like I was. How can I get involved? So, Stephen, share what is and how it came about.
Sure. Well, thanks. So earlier we talked about sort of my transition out of becoming an athletic director into this role and how my wife was raising basically two kids by herself. I have two amazing sons. I've got Logan, who's 7 years old, and Lincoln, who's 5 years old. And Lincoln is diagnosed with autism. He's nonverbal and has significant developmental delays. So, we've got a lot of, extra things on our plate with him that require our time. And one of the things I also mentioned going to summer camp, right? Every year. I actually met my wife working at a summer camp. So camps were always part of both of us and something that's very important to us. And as our kids were getting a little bit older and starting to, think about camp, we were looking for opportunities for Lincoln to go to camp, especially with his brother and with his peers. An inclusive environment was something we were really looking for, and we found very few opportunities for him, and of the opportunities that there were, they really couldn't support him in the way that he needed to, right? So they could take him as a camper, but we actually ended up paying out of our own pocket, hiring a one-on-one aide at, $30 an hour over the course of a summer. That adds up to quite a bit of money for him to experience camp. So my wife and I had this idea to start a nonprofit that we're raising money to help kids with anyone from 3 to 15 years old with disabilities to raise the money to provide those support services at camps. And we've partnered with 2 summer camps this summer. And we're going to be able to, already with the money we've raised, send at least 10 kids to camp this summer with the support that they need to have a successful experience there. And it's been, such a passion project for us, especially, given, our son and the backgrounds that we both have in camping. And it's, to be able to help other people have the magic of summer camp experience, that is really important to us. So that's what we're doing. And the company's name is LINCLUSION, named after Lincoln. Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Well, again, obviously, this is something that's very close to your heart, that's involving your son. As you were um, as you were planning this and the ideas were coming in, maybe talk about that process from, first inspiration. Hey, we could do this. And, obviously your son, Lincoln, was part of that motivation, but how did you go from, let's say, zero, and maybe you're not up to 60 yet, but how'd you go from zero to 30?
Yeah, well, I will say we're probably up 0 to 100 right now, which
Oh,
is which
wow.
is a good thing. But so the way that it sort of played out was, I mentioned my first job out of college. I worked at a Jewish community center, and they had an inclusion program there that was very well run and fully inclusive and fantastic. And actually, one of the women that founded that is the president of our board of directors. So she's helped me get started here. But really, what got the wheels turning for Jamie and I was seeing the experience that Lincoln had at camp. We didn't know how it was going to go for him and how it was going to be not only for him but for the other kids in his age group. And I mean, I can specifically remember picking him up from his therapy or his extended school year program and driving him over to camp and seeing a group of his peers running over and screaming, "Lincoln is here." I can't put into words the happiness and joy that brought me and my wife and our family. We never thought in a million years that would be something at age 5 that he would be able to experience. And that's where when we decided we've got to make this happen for other families. We were fortunate enough to be able to hire the one-on-one ourselves, but most people aren't in a position to be able to do that. So we're just glad that we're able to raise the money to help more kids have that experience like Lincoln had.
Now, on the on your, I don't want to confuse listeners. The program is called LINCLUSION. On your LinkedIn profile, you had a graphic talking about a summer camp coming up in July. I think the published deadline on that LinkedIn snapshot may have passed by the time our listeners hear this. Are there still opportunities if folks want to get involved, either to find out more or to send a kid there?
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, we had a deadline of March 8th for applicants. Those are, families that wanted that their kids needed the support at the camp. So we are, even though the deadline has passed, we are still accepting applications, and we tell them that, we've got a wait list. Look, this is the reality of the situation is it's all about how much money we raise, right? So we can support as many kids as we can fundraise for. So right now we've fundraised enough to send 10 kids to camp, and I would never ever put a price tag on a kid's head in terms of because each kid needs a different level of support. So depending on what a kid's needs are, that's where we come up with those numbers. But yeah, people are still applying, people are still reaching out, and I'd say not only are we still having people reach out where they want their kids or they need their kids to have this support and have this opportunity. We've been approached by camps all over the country that want to partner with us and want to be a part of this, and want their camps to be fully inclusive. And they've had, they just need a little bit of help figuring out navigating how to do that. So we're excited to, potentially expand, or not potentially, we will expand, next summer.
Well, let's go ahead and give out some contact information. If one of our listeners wanted to find out more about LINCLUSION, if they wanted to help out, if somebody wanted to make a donation, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you and make that happen?
That's great. So our website is linclusion.org, and all of the information is right there. You can, we appreciate any donations. We say every dollar helps, right? And we really mean that. So you can donate right there from the website, and you can find out all about our programs. We are doing our first big fundraiser that's coming up April 7th. We're doing a 5K here. We're hosting it in Ashland, Massachusetts, but there's also a virtual option. So if anybody out there, is interested in, getting some exercise and getting out there at the same time while supporting a good cause, linclusion.org, you can, there's a link right there, and you can register for the 5K. Like I said, or donate. And if anyone ever had questions about what I'm doing, want to get involved, have any connections for us, they can always reach out to me via email, which you can also find on our website. So,
Okay. And as we mentioned, Stephen's also on the LinkedIn platform as well. Well, guys, all the best with that. Sounds like just a tremendous program, serving a group that could really use those extra resources. Very cool. Thanks to you and your wife for, founding LINCLUSION. Stephen, this has been cool connecting with you, finding out a little bit about your life, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're no longer an AD, but you certainly know your way around the world of athletics from your experience. So we're going to take our final break here from Athletic Surveys, who sponsored this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Stephen Marks is going to put in his new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic Surveys is about connections. It's going to connect you to your stakeholders. Now, you already hear back from the people that want to complain and gripe about everything, but that's only a small percentage. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that's tremendously valuable information to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Stephen Marks, a longtime athletic director. Now he's a wellness director. He's also the founder of a great new program, co-founder, called LINCLUSION. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let him put 3 things in the toolbox. So, Stephen, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
What a great question. So the tools that I would put in, I'd say the first one, I would say have meetings with all of your coaches right when you get hired. Schedule meetings, especially with your varsity coaches, but really as many coaches as you can. Come up with a list of, maybe 6, 7, 8 questions that you ask them, and listen for themes, because that's going to really help guide you in terms of what work needs to happen sort of right away. What are the pressing needs right there? That would be my first. My second one would be to make sure that you have conversations and really cultivate a relationship with your school's administration. That relationship with your principal and your superintendent and assistant principals is so key in everything that you do. And I was fortunate to have great relationships with mine, and I would highly suggest you taking the time to cultivate those relationships and even if you don't always agree, to be able to have those difficult conversations and leave the room all going in the same direction is so important. And the last one will be actually a physical tool. I know all ADs will have their cell phones on them, hopefully using Gipper, like I see in the background right there. But always have the national anthem ready to go on your cell phone. I can't tell you how many times at a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game, I was there and either the, person that we had lined up to sing or whatever, just wasn't working. Always have that national anthem ready to go on your cell phone. Those are the three things I'd put in your toolbox. And I'm going to add a fourth just because that's what I'm going to do right now. The fourth thing would be visit linclusion.org. And if you can, donate $1, $10, be part of our 5K, spread the word about what we're doing. I'd really appreciate that. So those are the four things I'd put in your toolbox.
Well, all great tools. Meeting with coaches, that's one of my big ones. Cultivating that positive relationship with everybody, but especially administrators. We don't hear enough of that. And your interview is number 536, full-length interview. But we've also done another 400 or so segments. You're the first one that's ever mentioned have the national anthem. And I can tell you from experience, I can show you my cell phone. I still have it on my cell phone from those days because you're absolutely right. You never know when you're going to need it. And
It's
you talked
funny.
about, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. So, funny story about this year that puts that into play. As I'm coaching basketball, I was at another one of the gyms, and one of my former colleagues was there, and his anthem wasn't working, and I was standing there in line, and I passed him my cell phone and said, "Here you go, hit play," and so it still came into play this year.
Yeah, no, it's a great tool. You and I can both attest to
Yeah.
that. So there you go, athletic directors. Make sure you got that national anthem. And I was just going to say on LINCLUSION, go and give out the website again. And I'm going to go visit it as soon as we're done recording. I'm going to go ahead and make a donation. I think it's a great program. I'm not trying to score points for myself. I just want to see it succeed. And listeners, you should too. So what's the website one more time, Stephen?
Thank you again. I appreciate the website is www.linclusion.org. So the word inclusion with an L in front of it, named after my son Lincoln. So we appreciate that.
Stephen Marks, wellness director, longtime AD, and co-founder of LINCLUSION with your wife. Thanks so much for sharing with our listeners today on the podcast, and all the best moving forward with all the projects you're currently involved in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, we appreciate our listeners, and we do this just about every day, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks for listening to this one. We hope you come back for another great episode next time on the Educational AD Podcast.